here's Brody Brazil.
So as I record this, we still don't have any official conclusion to the situation surrounding Shohei Ohtani, his former interpreter, and the high value of illegal sports bets that had been placed in recent years. But it certainly does seem like we're now on the fast track to some actual answers and settling this situation once and for all. I'll point out two media reports here, beginning with the New York Times. Their headline says Ohtani's former interpreter is said to be negotiating a guilty plea. The subheadline says Ippei Mizuhara stands accused of covering his gambling debts by stealing millions of dollars from Shohei Ohtani's bank account. We'll dive in here. It says Ippei Mizuhara, the former translator for Shohei Ohtani, who was fired late last month amid allegations he stole millions of dollars. By the way, it's a lot more millions than you initially thought, from the baseball star's bank account to cover debts that Mizuhara owed to an illegal bookmaker, is in negotiations to plead guilty to federal crimes in connection with the purported theft, according to three people briefed on the matter. The investigation, which began about 3 weeks ago after news of the alleged theft broke, while Ohtani's team, the Los Angeles Dodgers, was opening its season with 2 games in South Korea, is rapidly nearing a conclusion, according to the people who spoke on the condition of anonymity because the inquiry is continuing. By the way, like literally no parts of this story or its developments or these revelations, none of it really makes me happy by any means, but there's only real one satisfying thing, is that we're reaching some final conclusions here sooner than later so that this just does not have to drag on for anybody. If it is that simple and it is that obvious, let's just get right to it, right? And it seems like that is what the reporting and the federal investigation is uncovering. A guilty plea for Mizuhara before a federal judge, likely to include an admission of a range of facts related to any illegal conduct, could confirm the account that Ohtani gave to reporters 2 weeks ago, in which he said he had no knowledge of what happened to the money. So there you go, and it still was his money, and maybe there should have been a little bit more responsibility about what it was doing, where it was going, but it kind of shows you the path for Shohei Ohtani in all of this. We'll move on to coverage from ESPN, and just going back in recent weeks, $4.5 million seemed like the amount that everybody talked about that was owed to the betting operation, whether Ohtani had paid some of it off or most of it off. There were certain payments of $500,000 on multiple occasions, but the headline here from ESPN says, Feds say Shohei Ohtani's ex-interpreter Ippei Mizuhara stole $16 million. So almost 4 times the amount that everybody had been talking about. The article says here the former interpreter for Shohei Ohtani stole more than $16 million over 2 years from the Los Angeles Dodgers superstar to pay off gambling debts to an illegal sportsbook, according to an affidavit filed by federal authorities Thursday. Federal authorities filed a complaint accusing Ippei Mizuhara, 39 years old, of bank fraud, which can carry a maximum fine of up to $1 million and or up to 30 years in prison, according to federal sentencing guidelines. That lets you understand the severity of what exactly has happened here. On how Mizuhara operated, right? I know that's been a question, and you should read this full piece. I'll also link to the New York Times article in the description down below. But how did Mizuhara do this? How did Shohei not know about this? Investigators also relied on recorded phone calls from the bank, in which Mizuhara falsely identified himself as Ohtani to, quote, trick and deceive bank employees into authorizing the transfers. The complaint outlined one specific transfer on June 20th, 2023 of $500,000 to an associate of a bookmaker. So there you go. That affidavit also reveals a ton of information which people in the baseball media world have been uncovering as today has gone on. Jeff Passan says this from the government's complaint against Ippei Mizuhara. One part says, on or about November 14th, 2022, Mizuhara messaged the bookmaker stating, quote, I'm terrible at this sport betting thing, huh? LOL. Any chance you can bump me again? Like float me more money or more credit? As you know, you don't have to worry about me not paying. Then there's another portion here which says the 35,966 records reflect approximately 19,000 wagers between December 2021 and January 2024, and nearly 25 bets per day on average. The wagers reflected in the 35,966 records ranged in value from roughly $10 to $160,000 per bet, with an average bet amount of roughly $12,800. I'm trying to read this slow so it really sinks in. I mean, clearly there's two things we're going to have to circle back to at the end of this video. The root problem is how many bets were placed and the dollar amount per bet that were wagered on sports. This is an addiction. This is a problem, and this is something our society really has to work on mitigating as it moves forward. But again, we'll address that at the very end of the video. During this period, the 35,966 records reflect total winning bets of $142+ million and total losing bets of $182+ million, leaving a total net balance of negative $40,678,436.94. The 35,966 records do not reflect any bets on baseball games. And you know what? That part B right there, that means a lot to Major League Baseball and the baseball community. They get to just kind of go, well, what's happened has happened. It's indirectly related to Major League Baseball, I suppose, because Ippei's not a player and he was an employee of Shohei Ohtani and the Angels and the Dodgers, but at least there was no direct betting on baseball games or anything that Ohtani did. I mean, that was a real concern, right? It could have gone multiple layers deeper, but if the federal investigation says there were no bets on baseball games, at least we have that to clarify some things among everything else. After ESPN's story broke, the federal report says this: on or about March 20th, 2024, Mizuhara messaged the bookmaker stating, quote, "Have you seen the reports?" Like, this is March 20th when all of this came out via ESPN. The bookmaker responded, "Yeah, but that's all bullshit. Obviously, you didn't steal from him. I understand it's a cover job." Like what everybody thought, right? Like Ippei was taking the hit. It's a cover job. I totally get it. Mizuhara then responded to the bookmaker, "Technically, I did steal from him. It's all over for me." So that honesty, even to the person he was placing the bets with, probably says it all right there. I don't know how anybody is coming back from that in trying to prove this story went other than what everybody understands at this point. So let me quickly go through my takeaways here, and there's a lot to digest from this. First off, I'm glad, like I said before, that all of this has come quickly, and all of this has come from the federal investigation, not the Major League Baseball investigation. Baseball said they were also into this. They were putting their people on this. But if it came from baseball, I just would have had a hard time believing it. I also don't think baseball had the power to go to the lengths and depths that the federal government has in uncovering all of this and already piecing things together. The government moved actually pretty quickly on this, which, like I said before, I take no enjoyment from, but at least there's satisfaction that we're getting some answers if it really is that simple. So again, I'm glad this all came from the feds and not baseball. I would have had a hard time trusting Major League Baseball if this were their results and their investigation. And look, I'm somebody who here on this channel, I don't know that I questioned Ohtani directly and suggested that he was behind any of this. I did say that maybe he was just standing too close to the fire. If he did nothing at all, he was just surrounded by people that were running way too hot, doing things they shouldn't have, attached him to it. And I'll make the point here at the end. All of this is most certainly a life lesson for Shohei Ohtani. But right now, I mean, if this is true and Ohtani got played in so many ways, then to a certain degree, I do feel bad for him. Like, not every day and not entirely. He's going to be just fine with all of this. He can part ways with some of that money. He'll get it all back, I'm sure. Whatever. It has nothing to do with that. It has more to do with people pointing their finger at him, accusing him, speculating on him. That's been terrible. That's why I don't try to rush to judgment on any of this stuff. I wait to see how it plays out. And now that it kind of is really heavily leaning in that direction, yeah, starting to feel bad for Shohei Ohtani just to get drugged through all of this. Let's go back to Ippei. He had, or still has, a serious gambling addiction. $12,000 a day, 25 bets a day for a couple straight years in a row? Dude, That is a lot. And that's something that we're going to have the realization with in our culture, that sports and gaming combined, gambling, I should say, I keep saying gaming, sports and gambling combined, they need mitigation, right? Because gaming is emerging. It's now legal. All the technology's behind it. And this was an old school operation. I just don't understand why Ippei, to satisfy his need, to satisfy his desires to wager, why wouldn't he have done this in some legal way? He travels the country. He has other ways to do it. I'm not sure why it went this route. I think we do need some more details on that part of it. But realizing that sports and gambling, they need some attention because they're constantly evolving. They're constantly changing. The gambling aspect is being way more thrown in front of the casual sports fan these days. And certainly here's somebody who worked in baseball, in and around baseball. And they got caught by the gambling addiction too, big time. To the point that Ippei was obviously wagering so much, wagering well beyond his means, and stealing Ohtani's money to actually keep it going, to the point where, yeah, he was heavily in debt. But in the end, I mean, this has to be a life lesson for somebody like Shohei Ohtani. You're a front-facing personality. You're the face of Major League Baseball, it could be argued. Nationally, globally, biggest contract in North American pro sports history is what he just signed with the Dodgers. I don't care if it's deferred money or not. Everybody knows what he's got and what he's good for. You have to protect yourself and surround yourself and monitor yourself just a little bit. I get it. He's busy with baseball and everything else. But at some point, it's a reminder that no matter what your stardom rises to, you really still do have to pay attention to some of the bare essentials, like your money and your family and things that you're ultimately responsible for as a human being, as every other human being like you and I are responsible for. So I don't want to drag on that point, but hopefully Ohtani can take away from this that, yeah, the mistake by him was just trusting somebody so much. And granted, it's a friend, and we all have people that we lean on and rely on and trust. But maybe to never ask any questions, and if he was around Ippei that much, to never have any speculation that, I wonder what he's doing over there right now. I wonder what that phone call was all about. Anyway, Ohtani can guard himself probably a little bit better. But in the end, like I said before, the main point, the main takeaway is that a little bit of clarity here is going to go a long way for Shohei Ohtani. Baseball's got so many bad headlines and storylines going on right now. If this one can just be squashed and moved on from, good for Ohtani, good for the Dodgers, good for Major League Baseball, because quite honestly, this could have gone on for weeks and months. Instead, we're here like not even a full month since the report came out, and it seems like right around the corner, we are going to get those ultimate conclusions. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me and this channel and this video. And by the way, I would love to see you back here next time, so do me a favor, go down below and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you do it so I can definitely see you back here next time.